Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today we're cracking open Gary John Bishop's Unfuck Yourself. Have you heard of this one?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's a bit of a cult classic, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, it's known for its pretty straightforward, in-your-face style.
Absolutely. It's not your typical self-help fluff. It's very direct and to the point.
Yeah. So I'm excited to dig in and see what we can pull out of this.
Yeah, me too. I think there's a lot of good stuff in here.
Okay, so let's jump right in.
Yeah.
One of the first things that really stood out to me was Bishop's assertion that I am willing.
Right. Yeah, that's a core concept in his philosophy for sure.
And it seems to be all about recognizing that we have a choice, whether we're willing or unwilling to change, even when we feel totally stuck.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of our choices and recognizing that even staying stuck is a choice.
So, like, someone's miserable in their job, but they don't do anything to change it.
Exactly. They're choosing to stay unhappy, maybe because they're afraid of the unknown or the discomfort of change.
So Bishop's saying that just by acknowledging that choice, whether it's I am willing or even I am unwilling, it can be kind of empowering.
Exactly, because when you say, I am unwilling, you're actually drawing a line in the sand. You're acknowledging the situation and making a conscious decision about it.
It's like saying enough is enough.
Right. Exactly. It's a shift from feeling like a victim to becoming an active participant in your life.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Then there's this other idea that I am wired to win. What's that all about?
Well, Bishop believes that as humans, we're all wired for success, but sometimes we're succeeding at the wrong things.
Like we're playing the wrong game without even realizing it.
Exactly. We might be unconsciously reinforcing negative beliefs about ourselves and actually winning at proving those beliefs.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So like someone who always ends up in failed relationships?
Exactly. They might subconsciously believe they're not worthy of love, and then their actions end up sabotaging the relationship, which reinforces that belief.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, but a negative one.
Right. And the crazy part is that they're winning. They're proving themselves right, even if it's painful.
So how do we shift that? How do we start winning at the right things?
Bishop suggests we ask ourselves, what am I unintentionally succeeding at? That can help us uncover those self-defeating patterns and start to change them.
Okay, so first we got to figure out what game we're actually playing.
Exactly. Then we can start making conscious choices that align with what we truly want.
All right, so we've acknowledged our willingness or unwillingness to change. We've identified what we're wired to win at. What's the next step?
Well, I think Bishop's assertion, this is a powerful one here.
What does he mean by that?
It's about developing an empowered mindset. It's
Yeah.
about recognizing that we have the strength and the resources to handle whatever challenges come our way.
So it's about believing in ourselves and our ability.
Exactly. It's about putting problems into perspective and realizing that we can handle them.
I really liked his analogy of the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
He asks us to imagine life as this vast railroad extending both into our past and future.
Right. And if we look back along those tracks, we can see all the challenges we've already overcome, the triumphs, the failures, the heartbreaks, the victories.
It reminds us that we've already navigated some pretty tough terrain.
Exactly. And then if we look forward, we see the unknown territory of our future, filled with potential and possibilities.
It's a reminder that our journey isn't over, and there's still so much more to experience.
And the beauty of this analogy is that it helps us see our current problems as just one small section of a much larger journey.
It's like zooming out and getting a wider perspective.
Exactly.
Right.
Our current struggles, however painful might feel, they're just a small blip on the radar of our lives.
So it's like saying, okay, this is tough, but I've been through tough times before, and I came out the other side.
Exactly, and I can do it again.
That's a really powerful way to reframe things.
Yeah.
Now, this ties into another one of Bishop's assertions. I embrace the uncertainty.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
So he's basically saying that our desire for certainty often holds us back.
Exactly. It keeps us from trying new things, taking risks, and ultimately achieving those great results we dream of.
He even links this back to our evolutionary past, doesn't he?
He does. He explains that our aversion to risk was once essential for survival.
Like back in the day when we were dodging saber-toothed tigers.
Exactly. Sticking to the familiar and avoiding the unknown increased our chances of staying alive.
But in today's world, that same instinct can actually limit our growth.
It becomes a barrier to experiencing all the amazing things life has to offer.
So our fear of the unknown, which once kept us safe, is now holding us back.
Right, and Bishop encourages us to challenge that fear, to step outside of our comfort zones and embrace the uncertainty.
So what are some practical ways to do that?
Well, he suggests trying new things, meeting new people, taking on new challenges at work, Anything that pushes us beyond our usual routines.
It's about shifting from a mindset of fear and avoidance to one of curiosity and exploration.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that uncertainty isn't something to be feared. It's actually where true growth and opportunity lie.
So it's not about eliminating uncertainty altogether. It's about changing our relationship with it.
Exactly. It's about embracing the unknown as a source of excitement and possibility.
That's a really interesting perspective.
Mm.
And another concept that really resonated with me was, I am not my thoughts. I am what I do.
Oh, yeah. That's a powerful one.
So he's making a clear distinction between thoughts and actions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's saying that we're not defined by the thoughts that pass through our minds, but by the actions we take.
So we can all have negative thoughts,
Yeah.
but it's what we do that really matters.
Exactly. He uses the example of procrastination, which I think we can all relate to.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's so easy to get caught up in those negative thought loops.
Right. We tell ourselves, I'll do it later, or I'm not good enough, and we end up delaying taking action.
So Bishop's saying that even when we don't feel like it, taking action is the key.
Absolutely. He believes that action is the antidote to procrastination, and that our thoughts will often follow our actions.
So instead of waiting for motivation to strike, we just need to start doing it.
Exactly, even if it's just a small step in the right direction.
And that can actually help shift our thoughts and create positive momentum.
It's a much more empowering approach than simply waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect feeling.
This brings us to another one of Bishop's key assertions. I am relentless.
Yeah, that's a great one for those moments when we're feeling discouraged or ready to give up.
So what does he mean by relentlessness?
It's about persevering even when we face setbacks and doubts. It's about staying committed to our goals even when the path ahead seems uncertain.
He uses the example of Arnold Schwarzenegger, right?
He does. He points out that despite numerous obstacles, Arnold never gave up on his dreams. Whether it was becoming a world champion bodybuilder, a Hollywood action star, or the governor of California.
It's pretty inspiring to see what relentless determination can accomplish.
It is. And Bishop emphasizes that relentlessness isn't about brute force. It's about focused, determined action, step by step.
It's about showing up, doing the work, and refusing to be deterred by challenges.
He makes a great point that sometimes relentlessness is all we have.
Especially when we're navigating the unknown and we're not sure what the next step should be.
It's that unwavering commitment to our goals that keeps us moving forward one step at a time.
So even when doubt creeps in, we can choose to be relentless and keep pushing forward.
Exactly. It's a powerful mindset to cultivate. Now, one of Bishop's assertions that might seem a bit counterintuitive at first is, I expect nothing and accept everything.
Yeah, that one really stood out to me too. It seems to go against a lot of traditional self-help advice.
It does, but I think there's a lot of wisdom in it.
So how does this idea fit into Bishop's overall philosophy?
Well, he's basically challenging us to confront the power of expectations and how they can actually lead to disappointment.
It's like we have these idealized visions of how things should be, and when reality doesn't match up, we get frustrated.
Exactly. And that gap between our expectations and reality can create a lot of suffering.
So Bishop's suggesting that by releasing our expectations, we can free ourselves from that cycle.
Exactly. It's about learning to accept situations as they are rather than how we think they should be.
Now, this doesn't mean we shouldn't have goals or plans, right?
No, not at all. It's more about approaching those goals and plans with a flexible mindset.
So we can still strive for what we want, but without getting attached to a specific outcome.
Exactly. It's about being open to detours, setbacks, and unexpected challenges.
And seeing those challenges as opportunities for growth rather than sources of frustration.
Right. It's about being present and adaptable, responding to life as it unfolds rather than clinging to rigid expectations.
It seems like a really powerful way to navigate the ups and downs of life.
It is. It's about surrendering to the flow of life while still remaining committed to our values and goals.
This has been a really insightful exploration of Gary John Bishop's work. So far, we've covered a lot of ground, from acknowledging our willingness to change to embracing uncertainty and releasing expectations. But before we move on to part 2, I'd like to hear your thoughts on how listeners can start applying these ideas in their own lives.
Sure. That's a great question. I think one of the most important takeaways is that action is key. It's not enough to just understand these concepts intellectually.
So it's not just about reading the book, it's about actually living it.
Exactly. It's about taking those powerful assertions and turning them into actionable steps.
So how can listeners start doing that? What are some concrete things they can do today?
Well, one simple but powerful way to start is to pay attention to their self-talk.
Like notice those moments when they're engaging in negative self-talk.
Exactly. When you catch yourself saying things like, I can't or I'm not good enough, challenge those thoughts. Replace them with more empowering language.
Like using those assertions we talked about, like I am willing or I got this.
Exactly. It's about consciously shifting your internal dialogue to one that supports your goals and aspirations.
So it's about recognizing that our thoughts have power. And by choosing to focus on more positive language, we can actually create a more positive reality.
It sounds a bit woo-woo, but there's actually a lot of research to support it.
Okay, so that's one practical step. What else can listeners do?
Another key takeaway is to embrace uncertainty.
So instead of fearing the unknown, they should see it as an opportunity.
Exactly. Challenge yourself to do one thing outside your comfort zone each week.
Like what kind of things?
It could be anything. Trying a new hobby, talking to a stranger, taking on a new project at work, anything that pushes your boundaries a little bit.
So it's about pushing the boundaries of our comfort zone and recognizing that discomfort is often a sign of growth.
Precisely. And by embracing uncertainty, we open ourselves up to new experiences, new perspectives, and new possibilities.
That's a really powerful reminder.
Yeah.
Now, Bishop also emphasizes the importance of taking action, even when we don't feel like it.
Absolutely. He reminds us that action is the antidote to procrastination, and that our thoughts often follow our actions.
So instead of waiting for motivation to strike, we should just start doing.
Exactly. Set a goal, break it down into manageable tasks, and commit to taking consistent action even when you don't feel like it.
So it's about creating momentum through action, rather than waiting for the perfect moment.
Exactly. And that momentum can actually help shift our thoughts and create a more positive upward spiral.
This has been a really incredible discussion. So far, we've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much more to explore in Gary John Bishop's work. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with part 2 of our deep dive into Unfuck Yourself. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. So last time we were talking about embracing uncertainty, taking action, and really challenging those negative thought patterns.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground in that first part. So much good stuff in Bishop's book. Like, it really gets you thinking about how much power we actually have over our own lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love about Bishop's approach. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. He just lays it out there and says, look, you have the power to change.
Yeah, and he really emphasizes personal responsibility, doesn't he?
Absolutely. He's all about taking ownership of our lives and our choices instead of blaming circumstances or other people for our unhappiness.
So it's about recognizing that we're the ones in the driver's seat.
Exactly. We have the power to choose our thoughts, our beliefs, and our actions.
And ultimately, those choices shape our reality.
It's not always easy, though.
Right.
Definitely not. But Bishop provides some really practical strategies for overcoming those common obstacles that can trip us up.
Like procrastination, for example.
Procrastination.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me. Sometimes I feel like I'm a pro at it.
Well, you're not alone. Bishop says that procrastination often stems from fear, self-doubt, or a lack of clarity.
So what's the antidote?
Action. He encourages us to break down those big, daunting tasks into smaller, more manageable steps.
No, instead of getting overwhelmed by the whole project, you just focus on taking that first step.
Exactly. And then another step, and another. It's about building momentum.
And sometimes it's just about getting started, even if it's not perfect.
He has this great saying, done is better than perfect. Sometimes we get so caught up in trying to do things perfectly that we never actually get started.
That's so true. I need to remind myself of that more often. And Bishop also reminds us that failure is an inevitable part of the process.
Yeah, nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes.
Exactly. And it's through those mistakes that we learn and grow.
So instead of seeing failure as a sign of weakness, we can actually embrace it as a learning opportunity.
It's about developing resilience and a growth mindset.
I love that. Now, another thing Bishop talks about is the feeling of being overwhelmed or stuck.
Yeah, that's a common one too, right?
Absolutely. Life can get pretty crazy sometimes. And it's easy to feel like we're drowning in to-dos and responsibilities.
Well, Bishop suggests that those feelings often stem from a lack of clarity or direction.
So what's the solution?
He advises taking a step back to gain perspective.
So it's like pausing to take a deep breath and assess the situation.
Exactly. Ask yourself, what do I truly desire? What are my priorities? What am I prepared to do to make it happen?
So it's about getting clear on what really matters and then aligning our actions with those priorities.
He also talks about the importance of decluttering our lives, both physically and mentally.
So like getting rid of stuff We don't need commitments that drain our energy and negative thoughts that hold us back.
Exactly. It's about creating space for things that truly matter to us.
So it's not just about adding more to our lives, it's also about letting go of things that no longer serve us.
Absolutely. It's about simplifying and focusing on what brings us joy and fulfillment.
Now, speaking of things that bring us joy, Bishop also emphasizes the power of gratitude.
Oh, yes. Gratitude is a game changer.
It's so easy to get caught up in the negative and focus on what's wrong with our lives.
But when we consciously choose to focus on what we're thankful for, it can really shift our perspective.
It's like putting on a pair of rose-colored glasses.
And it's not about denying the challenges or pretending everything's perfect. It's just about choosing to focus on the good things.
So it's a practice, a conscious choice we make every day.
And it can have a profound impact on our well-being.
Now, another really important theme in Bishop's book is the power of self-belief.
Yeah, he's a big believer in that.
So it's about recognizing our own potential and having the courage to go after our dreams.
Exactly. He challenges us to believe in ourselves even when doubts creep in.
Because ultimately our beliefs shape our reality, don't they?
They do. If we believe we're capable of achieving great things, we're more likely to take the actions necessary to make those things happen.
So it's about creating a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. And it starts with recognizing and challenging those limiting beliefs that hold us back.
Like those negative voices in our heads that tell us we're not good enough or we can't do it.
We all have those voices, but Bishop encourages us to not let them run the show.
To replace them with more empowering beliefs that support our goals and aspirations.
And he also stresses the importance of taking care of ourselves, both physically and mentally.
It's about recognizing that our physical, mental, and emotional well-being are all interconnected.
Absolutely. He encourages us to prioritize exercise, nutritious food quality, sleep, and activities that nourish our souls.
So it's about creating a holistic approach to well-being.
Exactly. And it's not selfish. It's actually essential for living a fulfilling and productive life.
And finally, Bishop talks about the importance of surrounding ourselves with positive, supportive people.
Oh, yeah. The people we spend time with have a huge impact on our lives.
So it's about cultivating relationships with people who believe in us, support our dreams, and challenge us to grow.
And it's also about distancing ourselves from people who drain our energy, doubt our capabilities, or bring negativity into our lives.
It's about being mindful of the energy we allow into our lives and making conscious choices about who we surround ourselves with.
Our relationships can either lift us up or hold us back. So it's important to choose wisely.
This has been another really insightful conversation about Gary John Bishop's work. His book is packed with so many valuable insights and practical strategies. It's really a gold mine of information.
It is, and it's one of those books that I think you can keep coming back to again and again. There's always something new to discover.
So before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'd like to get your perspective on what you consider to be the most transformative message of the book.
That's a great question. I think for me, the most transformative message is the power we have to change our lives. It's a message of empowerment, hope, and possibility. It's a reminder that we're not victims of our circumstances. We have the agency to choose a different path.
And it all starts with a decision, a willingness to take responsibility for our lives and start making choices that align with what we truly want.
Yeah, it really is about taking that first step and then another. And, it's amazing how those small steps can add up over time.
They really can. And, before we wrap up this deep dive, I think it would be helpful to kind of recap some of those key assertions that we've talked about.
Yeah, definitely. Those assertions are really the heart of Bishop's message. They're like little mantras that we can use to shift our mindset and start creating real change.
Exactly. And, it's not enough to just hear them or read them. We have to actually embody them and put them into practice in our daily lives.
Absolutely. It's about turning those words into action.
Okay, so let's start with the foundation. I am willing.
Yeah, that's the starting point. It's about recognizing that we have a choice in every situation, even when we feel stuck.
And it's about acknowledging that we're either willing or unwilling to change.
Exactly. And even just saying, I am unwilling, can be empowering because it's a conscious decision.
Okay, so that's step one.
Yeah.
Then we have, I am wired to win.
Right. And that's a reminder that we're all capable of success, but sometimes we're succeeding at the wrong things.
Like we're playing the wrong game without even realizing it.
Exactly. So it's about becoming aware of those self-sabotaging patterns and redirecting our energy towards more positive outcomes.
Okay, so we're willing to change. We're aware of what we're wired to win at. What's next?
Well, when you hit a roadblock, remember, I got this.
It's about believing in ourselves and our ability to handle challenges.
Exactly. It's about putting problems into perspective and recognizing that we have the strength and resources to overcome them.
And then there's I embrace the uncertainty.
Ah, yes, that's a big one. It's about shifting our relationship with the unknown. Instead of fearing it, we embrace it as a source of growth and opportunity.
So it's about stepping outside of our comfort zones and being open to new experiences.
Exactly. And, it's often in those moments of uncertainty that we discover our greatest strengths.
Now, another assertion that really resonated with me was, I am not my thoughts. I am what I do.
Right. That's a powerful reminder that we're defined by our actions, not by the thoughts that pass through our minds.
So even when we have negative thoughts, we can choose to take positive actions.
Exactly. And those actions will often help to shift our thoughts in a more positive direction.
Okay, so we're taking action. We're embracing uncertainty. What about when those doubts and setbacks inevitably creep in?
Well, that's when we need to tap into the power of I am relentless.
It's about persevering even when things get tough.
Exactly. It's about staying committed to our goals, even when the path ahead seems uncertain.
And finally, there's I expect nothing and accept everything.
Yeah, that's a powerful one. It's about releasing our expectations and learning to accept situations as they are.
So it's about surrendering to the flow of life while still remaining true to our values and goals.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between striving for what we want and accepting what is.
You know, it's amazing how these simple assertions can have such a profound impact on our lives.
They really can. It's all about putting them into practice and making them a part of our daily routine.
Exactly. It's not just about reading the book, it's about living it.
And the beauty of Bishop's work is that it's so accessible and practical. Anyone can apply these principles to their lives.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it so appealing. It's not about complicated theories or esoteric concepts. It's about simple truths that we can all relate to.
And, it's not a one-time fix. It's an ongoing process.
Exactly. It's about constantly challenging ourselves to grow, evolve, and become the best versions of ourselves.
And you know what? I think that's a perfect note to end on.
It is. So, to all our listeners out there, remember you have the power to unfuck yourself.
Go out there, embrace the challenge, and create the life you truly deserve. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.